Well, okay, we'll be integrating more details about this information later in the program. But for now, let's turn it back over to Dr. McAleer.
Okay, so what are the actual elements of a good story? Broken down into its simplest form, it's a connection of cause and effect. It has these elements. It has characters, a setting, conflict, and a resolution. Okay, so here are some examples of those elements translated into some actual litigation elements. What about the characters? Well, for example, in a motor vehicle accident, there are the two drivers. There are the police, there is the ambulance, there's the hospital staff, the doctors, the family. And what about the setting? Well, the setting involves around the where, the what, the why, what actually took place and where. And the conflict, well, obviously, in an automobile accident, the conflict is the crash itself. Listen to what happened. Explain it. In a pharma case, they took a medicine. It caused them physical damage. What was that real damage to their life like? And finally, there's a resolution. Find out the real current situation, then you, the law firm, have the resolution. Let me send you a contract. Identifying these elements in the course of the conversation allows you as an intake specialist to understand the whole situation.
You know, all great works of literature, from the time of the classic Greek theater, through Elizabethan England in the 16th century, and a little-known writer named William Shakespeare, through to the present day, all great stories have the same key components: characters, setting, conflict, and resolution. This has to do with how the brain works. Well, these time-honored story elements are the same ones you're looking for in the stories you listen to from your potential new clients. Jay?
Exactly. So, why is someone's story so important in this slice of the world of law? Well, in a nutshell, it's because there's little difference between great works of literature that are designed to entertain us and great stories told in a courtroom. Both are designed to move you, to affect you, and to draw you into a situation. Never forget, a story that contains all of these various elements you're collecting can truly move people. Think of them as cards in the hand of a trained attorney to play, and your job to collect them and get them in the attorney's hand. And one day, the P&C story may well be in front of others who are assessing that story, from a judge to a jury, from a settlement committee to an insurance adjuster. Someone will look at the story of the damages, and the hardship, and the injury, and factor in these characteristics, the settings, factor in the situation with the conflict in order to reach that resolution. So, getting the story accurate and restating it will make all the difference to a positive outcome, to the law firm's success, and ultimately your career.
Great. As we move on to more story gathering techniques and the action steps involved, you might just be surprised to find out that you've already learned some of the best stories around, way back in grammar school.
So the old 5 W's really work very well. The who, what, when, where, and why. You have to capture the who. Who was involved in the accident? Who was affected by the medicine? The what? Explain exactly what happened in the accident. Explain what were the results of taking the medicine. The when. When did the accident happen? When did they start taking the medicine? When did they stop? When were they at the hospital? The where. Where did the accident take place? The why. Why did the accident happen? Why did they take the medicine? Why did they have the results they did? As you listen to their story, you can identify these details. If they do not share them, ask them specifically. For example, If they did not clearly state when the event took place, just ask, when exactly did this happen? Again, if you'll remember from our lesson on active listening, this is a part of that process of active listening. Okay, so here is a method I actually use. Remember those steps in closing the deal? Here is how the client's story fits into the whole process. Remember I said this, I usually start by saying I need to ask a few questions, the qualifying questions, and then I want to hear your story. The questions are usually basic, such as when did the event happen, what happened. I then ask the PNCs to tell their stories, and they are ready to tell their stories. And of course, many times it does mean that you have to stop and ask the correct questions to get all of the elements that we've already mentioned. There are 4 steps to do this. We think these 4 steps are crucial in the whole process that we are talking about in this course. These 4 steps can help you each and every time you are on the phone with a potential new client. So here they are. Step 1, make sure you have their basic information correctly. Name, address, email address, phone number. I know we've talked about that a lot, but it's very crucial. Step 2, ask the basic qualifying questions you need answered at the first of the conversation in order to qualify the client. Now, step 3, ask them to tell their story. But here we go back to empathy and listening. It is key when you're listening to their story to empathize, to actively listen, to respond to what they're saying. Ask yourself, do they qualify as a client so that we can win their case? And then finally, step 4, you have to reconstruct the story, the who, what, when, where, and why, into your intake form.
That's right, the 5 W's. Also the essential components of every news reporter's toolbox and, still perhaps, the best way to think about gathering the client's legal story. And Dr. McAleer's 4 steps can help you with every call. So let's review them again. Basic information captured accurately. Next, basic qualifying questions. Ask them to tell their story, eliminating PNCs that don't fit your law firm's criteria for moving on or advancing to further steps. And finally, once you're convinced that the PNC situation fits within the parameters of the litigation, restructure their story using the 5 W's into your intake form. Now, it's time to turn things back over to you. When you've completed this interactive module, Dr. Michael has a story of his own that points out the benefits of using the approach we've provided you.